Hello and welcome to Glimmer of Genius. On today's episode, as well as what we've been up to this week in Magic, we're going to discuss the recent changes that Wizards have announced, including the banned and restricted update, what Standard's going to look like moving forward, and an unconventional brew that Grant has spotted in Modern. My name's Luke, and on the line with me is Grant, Level 2 Judge. How are you today, Grant? You alright?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Normally we are joined by Simon, our co-host, but I would say unfortunately he's had children. I mean, unfortunately he's not here. It's very fortunate he's had children. That's not quite what I mean by that. Yeah, he's had twins, so he's very, very rushed off his feet. Bless him. And I firmly believe he's probably just asleep right now. Passed out underneath a tower of nappies. But yeah, bless him. So the main thing I think we want to talk about today was the sort of slew of announcements from Wizards of the Coasts. They put out that they were going to be rolling out some new announcements building up to the 25th anniversary of Magic the Gathering.
Which was a bit unexpected, I think, for me.
Yeah, I didn't think they were. I suppose 25 is a big milestone for them. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to get these little things when they come out. But the two big things that have come out so far, first one is we're going to get back core sets, and the second one, which has been hot off the presses today, which we knew it was going to be the banned and restricted announcement. And rather unsurprisingly, Aetherworks Marvel is banned, and in Standard, and in all other formats I believe there were no other changes.
Gasp.
Yeah, who'd have thought? So yeah, I was a little bit surprised they didn't try and unban something at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think they would have unbanned then?
Reflector Mage?
Yeah, actually that's not too bad, because the reason why they couldn't unban it before was because it would have made Ether far too powerful. That's an interesting one, actually, because nothing else would have... Because from what I've heard people say, like Marvel and other decks used to run blue just to counter Marvel. Now that's gone, they won't be playing blue. So it's not like people would want to splash blue in Mardu just for Reflector Mage, unless they... Actually, I don't know, because it's a 2-3, isn't it? So the crew 3 things would be not as good with it. So maybe we'd see a few more of the blue-white spirit lists, I guess.
Yeah, so going back in time a bit, yeah, the reason they banned Reflector Mage was because they didn't. It was a preemptive ban. They didn't want blue-white flash to just dominate. So they wanted, they wanted to give other decks a chance. And you're right. I think Mardu pretty much just plays blue to counter Aetherworks Marvel. So that might just stop being a thing. However, Spell Queller is good against more controlling archetypes, so it might go away for a bit, but then it wouldn't surprise me if they did start bringing a black back, because Metallic, I don't know if you saw the lists running Metallic Rebuke.
Yes, I like that list. I faced it once. It's
quite interesting, makes for some good tempo players, so I don't think Reflector Mage would have been too overpowered, and...
Not now, I think I agree with that. I'm sure there's some weird deck that would be really good with it, or something that I'm missing. But I agree. I think that would be a nice kind of give and take, as it were.
Yeah, I think so. And I think back to I didn't play a lot of blue-white flash when it was in Standard. I tried to try and find decks to beat it before I conceded and just played it. But in a short space of time I did play it, it did have a tendency to kind of flood out, and Smuggler's Copter helped with that. So losing Smuggler's Copter, I think, was a blow for that deck anyway.
And you've got lots of cycling now, haven't you? So that, I don't know if that's something you can just put in as easily as Smuggler's Copter, but maybe that will make, like, from what I've seen, the addition of Amonkhet has made the format a lot more accommodating to have control, or whether that's just a product of the recent bannings, because obviously there's been a banning pretty much every set has come out, so it's kind of hard to tell the difference. But yeah, maybe that would help it. Yeah,
so I think cycling plays a big part in that. Because if you think of blue-red at the moment, see a lot of lists, I don't know if it's the norm, but certainly if I was playing blue-red, they'd play the 4 hieroglyphic illumination and 4 Glimmer of Genius, because you can just cycle it.
Sphinx. I just like him just because it's a 4-mana 4/4 flyer.
Oh, the Sphinx, yeah.
Just if you're just discarding cards, like if you're running red, you're probably running Cathartic Union or Tormented Voice or whatever, and that just gives you extra scrying, and that's really cool. I would just definitely run him if I was playing any form of control.
He is pretty cool.
I really like the Glyph Keeper as well. I don't think anyone's ever going to play it, but is it the 5-mana 5/3 flyer with basically the Glass Kite ability?
Yes.
And then you can embalm him. Embalm him for 7, isn't it? But I really like him, just because I like the Glass Kite ability.
I played against it a couple of FNMs. People have been toying with it, and it is quite annoying because it has to eat 2 removal spells and then
That,
comes back and then has to eat another 2.
yeah, it's nice.
I think that could maybe see a bit more play, perhaps. I don't know. I think it's one of those things. It's a very good card, but it might just be that there's a lot of competition at that sort of mana cost.
It's like Glory Bringer, like that spiked hideously, and then like everyone's like, "Should we play it? Nah, we'll make a list for it. It's all right," and it just went back down again. Just because a 4/4 flying haste creature was just normally ridiculous, but it just wasn't good enough, so it just didn't see play. And probably the same with Glyphkeeper, I imagine.
And maybe that's the sort of stuff we'll see.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, I mean, the best example for me for this was with New Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Like, I can't really think of a card in Standard that I've seen that has been that good in a vacuum before. I looked at it and I was like, this is just ridiculous. Surely you want it in every single deck, and it was just too slow for the format. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe there'll be a rotation or there'll be a new set, and then she'll go in. And fair enough, she's played in a few decks, and actually she was only really consistently played in Aetherworks Marvel. Really, she's going to go away again. And I'm just thinking, this is just a good card, but she seems to be consistently in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is weird for a card that I personally think is just very, very good.
I know what you mean. I remember because if you think when she first came out, she spiked to something stupid like $40, perhaps even higher. I mean, I haven't.
No, more than that, I believe. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, there you go. So I think a lot of people were sort of having the same thought process as you with that, because she does look like she would be. I mean, I'm not going to draw parallels to like Jace the Mind Sculptor is the only other sort of impactful 4 mana.
So it's it's not absurd to make that comparison.
No,
because it's similar. We've only had 2 other placeholders for 4 abilities, I believe. You got 7 mana Garruk and Mind Sculptor, I believe.
There might be a Gideon in there somewhere.
Yeah, you may be right.
But anyway, I mean, the thing is looking at it thinking this just looks powerful. Yeah, and for it not to do anything for a while. But I think Glorybringer and maybe Chandra are the sort of things we'll see more of.
She was estimated at $58 when she first came out.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, in a vacuum, really good. But meh.
I'm going to call it now. I think you reminded me of the existence of Glorybringer, and I think that card, if people aren't doing Marvel shenanigans anymore, they're going to be more creature-based matchups if you're not playing a control deck. Therefore, to my mind, Glorybringer will shine.
After running that PPTQ, I had some ideas about what I wanted to do, and there was a guy running a Jund kind of Eldrazi-ish list, and that was quite nice because it just kind of went against the meta, which isn't so much a big thing, because obviously it was mainly against Mardu, who was quite good against Green Black, and was mostly against Aetherworks, and I made my own list, which was mostly Rakdos, and just had big creatures like that were just difficult to deal with and quite aggressive. I made that deck sculpted around the current meta, so that probably won't be as relevant anymore without Aetherworks. But again, at that PPTQ, I saw some other interesting lists that didn't do very well, mostly because of Aetherworks. But you just had like Ronas, the Snake God, and all that sort of business. Just lots of very scary creatures that if you can't deal with, just you're in big trouble. And yeah, I kind of agree. I think Glorybringers are probably going to be amongst those decks somewhere. Yeah,
absolutely. And Ronas is another one, actually. It's quite scary. They cast it. I've been playing Magic Online, the league today with Black-White Zombies, and cast a Ronas, and you're thinking, that's not significant. And then you're like, oh, wait, no, it can pump the other 2/2s on the board. And then you're suddenly like, oh, that's a 5/5, and it can't die.
Yeah, it's why I strongly believe that it's by far the best, just because it enables itself. Like, regardless of, the stats or actually what the ability does, it's very nice that the ability also enables it, but to me it doesn't really matter so much what the ability does. The point is that the ability enables the god.
Absolutely.
It's nice options.
Yeah, definitely. I think a little shake-up was needed, and I shall be definitely looking forward to brewing and seeing what's out there post-Marvel Standard. Just looking at the actual announcement itself, their rationale behind it.
Yeah.
Are players engaging with the format, and when they do, are they having fun? Aetherworks Marvel has been the largest part of the competitive Standard metagame.
Justified.
Yeah. Kind of the same reason for banning, what was it called? Felidar Guardian. I'll post a link to their whole ban and restricted announcement as well. One sentence that just made me laugh. I didn't read this before. We're also sensitive to the fact that Standard has been through turbulent times lately. First with the bannings of Smuggler's Copter, Emrakul and Reflector Mage, and then Felidar Guardian. We are very concerned with taking another deck out of players' hands when our goal is to let people play with the cards that they have.
So this is interesting because I think we discussed it last time a bit, and I was a bit hesitant about the idea of them banning Ethos Marvel, although it was necessary. I got that would make people angry, and unlike Felthar Guardian, there's actually quite a bit of money in this deck. You've got Ulamog, you've got Ethos Marvel, whatever. But I saw people commenting on this announcement today, and people that were complaining about, I just bought this or whatever, were just like, well, you're an idiot for buying like a playset like a week before the announcement.
Yeah.
And then someone followed that up by saying, like, actually the price was dropping down because everyone anticipated this was happening. So I get the people that might have already had the deck and been playing it for a while might be a bit angry, but to be fair, you've got quite a good run out of the most competitive deck. And for the people that have just bought it, they're either a bit silly or they got quite a good deal.
Yeah.
So that's, although I was a bit concerned about that, it seems to have almost modified itself to not be so much of an issue, which is quite fortunate, I think.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, you've got to be particularly ballsy or know a lot to want to buy something like that this close to ban restricted announcement. I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't really gone out and said it, but they're trying to suggest that Team Energy would be an adequate replacement for the cards that you have if you are upset that Marvel's been banned.
Yeah.
Take out Marvel and Ulamog for a few powerful creatures that use energy and swap Chandras, and it's virtually the same deck.
Yep.
Thanks, Wizards. One thing I saw as well is an interesting, potentially toying with the idea of bringing back cards from older formats to like temporarily allow them into Standard. We looked at
like with the core sets, or
no, they said we looked at making other cards legal for Standard that otherwise wouldn't be, like Pithing Needle and Duress.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And they also were talking about making it so you weren't allowed to use Aetherworks Marvel and Ulamog in the same deck. But they just thought all these things kind of cause more problems than they actually probably solve.
Yeah.
And I don't think they want to wander down a path like that, which I agree is probably pretty dumb.
See, this is the thing that I don't quite get, and obviously we'll touch upon when we talk about the core set stuff later. I was talking to... Was it us that was talking about it, or someone else? When I was saying just reprint Pithing Needle and Duress in the next set. Like, Pithing Needle is already quite a generic card that you can probably fit in any set, especially with an Egyptian theme where you've got like Canopic Jars and all that business.
Yeah.
And Duress fits in literally every set. Why not just print that in the next set? Don't have any banning announcements. Just have to wait a few weeks for Hour of Devastation to come out. But regardless of what the next set is, just reprint Pithing Needle and Duress. But it's like I said, it's especially flavour relevant. So I don't see why they're sort of going like, oh, let's just temporarily have this card from 2000 and whatever. We might as well just have it the next set. It's not a
Yeah.
It's quite a sensible card, and presumably there'll be some broken Planeswalkers the next set, and just having Pithing Needle. We've got enough artifact removal left over from Aetherworks Marvel. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Thinking about it though, I don't know if Pithing Needle would have been a very fun alternative, because I can just imagine, the Marvel lists that play like main deck counter spells, Dissenter's Deliverance, and Glimmer of Genius.
The main deck Dissenter's Deliverance, yeah.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. You can imagine them going, right, well, I have 4 Pithing Needles, and
The thing is, with Dissenter's Deliverance, is that is only really useful against Aetherworks Marvel or some other deck that runs lots of vehicles, so it's good against some parts of Mardu and obviously Aetherworks Marvel. And then, of course, if it's not relevant, you just cycle it. Or with Pithing Needle, you're pretty much always going to find a target, because it's just decks have activated abilities in. So I think main decking Pithing Needles isn't quite the same as main decking, say, Artifact Hate, because it's not really a specific hate card or even a specific category hate card.
No.
Just, you know that in the format there are activated abilities that are troublesome, so just, put in this 1-mana universal card. But then I suppose if all of the decks were running playsets of them, then that's reminiscent of Smuggler's Copter, so I don't know how they'd deal with that.
Can you imagine if they had decided, right, we're going to make Pithing Needle legal, and then everyone was just running 4 of it? And they're like, oh god, what have we done?
I think you can't ban a hate card, because the hate cards are there for a reason, and you can't win a game unless you're like so artifacting it. You can't win a game with Pithing Needle, so actually I think every main decking Pithing Needle, although it's a bit silly, I think that's fine for a few months.
It would be quite amusing. There's quite a lot of viable targets for it outside, like you're saying. Like I'm just thinking of
Planeswalkers done.
all Planeswalkers, yeah, all vehicles and manlands and that Hydra, bristling Hydra.
Oh yeah, that's quite a nice one.
But yeah, that's the banning, and then core sets was the other announcement, which I think both of us have been playing long enough where core sets are something we've experienced, and I quite like this decision. I mean, I was kind of indifferent to core sets going in the first place, and I quite like them. in a weird kind of way, even though they're quite bland and not really that exciting. I remember reading an article that someone raised a really good point about. At the moment with Wizards, if you can kind of think back to the last year, 2 years, we've had Eternal Masters, Modern Masters, awesome new sets, and lots of other supplementary product between Conspiracy, Commander, all this product. It feels like almost every month or every couple of months they're throwing out something. It's quite a lot of money to like keep spending on new stuff. Obviously, you don't have to spend the money on it. That's a perfectly valid point. But one of the things that this guy was getting at in the article, it was actually quite nice to have like the summer set that was a bit of a break financially. You didn't necessarily need all the cards. So like the older players who maybe kind of have those cards, they don't need to worry about getting them. But it's a great set for newer players coming in to kind of stock up on like standard staples or even modern staples, but also not be a set where you're necessarily needing an awful lot from it. So it's a little bit of a break, almost like a bit of a palate cleanser when you're getting like all these sets.
Like that. That's interesting because again, like when core sets left, I was kind of the opposite. I was like, yeah, that kind of were a bit boring. Like, pre-releasing core sets were just such a waste of time because like, oh, okay, you opened like the 2 mythics that make the set interesting. I guess you just win or whatever. Yeah. From that point of view, that's quite nice. Like, particularly as experienced players or whatever, I suppose it's kind of nice to go like, actually, I don't need to pre-release this one. I can pick up a copy of this Planeswalker and this Planeswalker for my Commander deck, whatever. Let's just focus on standards. So yeah, I hadn't thought about that as like the palette cleanser idea. That's quite nice.
Yeah, so I think weirdly enough, even though like you, I was kind of like not sad to see them go, just a bit like now that they're back, I'm quite pleased. The other thing as well is I've noticed that they haven't stopped reprinting what I would call core set cards. If you look at Negate, Giant Spider, Cancel, all that good stuff, like they need to print them. There has to be that whole sort of leveling act, balancing act. So they need to be there. And when you see like a Giant Spider in Amonkhet, kind of looking at it thinking, this is here because it needs to be here, not because they really wanted Giant Spiders in Amonkhet.
Yeah. It's like Duress and Pin Needle, like we said. That's prime candidates for core set stuff because, well, not much Pin Needle now, but that's an example of like a modern staple that new players can pick up with. It's kind of nice that they got a card that they can use in modern or trade. Modern players, that's quite nice. So yeah, that's quite a nice feature. And it just means, again, everyone always has a copy of Duress or Negate or whatever to hand.
Exactly.
I'm just giving through the Metamorphosis 2.0 is the name of the article if anyone needs to find it.
Yep. And
just looking at the rotation, because although being a judge, it took me a while to get my head around the rotation thing, because I got that it went from 5 to 8 to 5 to 6, 5 to 6 like it was before. Mm-hmm. And then I really couldn't get my head around the fact that it was why Battle for Zendikar block and Shadow block was also rotating. And it was the whole thing that Battle for Zendikar has got a 6-month extension, which also means that it's the same as the 18-month thing, so that's why they're both going. But in terms of the rotation, that's still the same for this new system, isn't it? Like they've got the little animation with the 5/8 set thing, which I think is going to, well, I suppose look and feel similar to how it was before, I guess.
I think so. I didn't really care much for the when they changed it, and I'm kind of glad it's going back to an older way. It's because I'm getting old and I don't like change. But I think the article does a better job of explaining it than how I understood it before, and yeah, I'll post another link to that as well if anyone's not sure about what the rotation change means. At the end of the day, I'd say if you find it confusing, don't worry about it. A kindly judge will tell you what you're allowed to play at any given moment, so just ask them all your annoying questions.
And there'll occasionally be a weird surprise card, like, can I run this first? No, wait, yes, probably. Yeah, you can first, yay!
Cool, so I'll just take a very quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about this deck idea that you have. Okay, so one of the things we wanted to try and do a little bit more was talk about new brews that Grant has come up with. And we haven't done one for a little while, because there's always been other things that we kind of just ramble on about. But we have made some time for you to talk about a new brew. It's a modern brew, so why don't you tell us about your new deck idea?
Cool. So along with a lot of decks that I talk about, and if anyone's been exposed to the ridiculous amount of decks I have untapped out, a lot of them tend to be either straight up copies for some and then I just modify them, or they can be like 2 sort of or 3 deck ideas all put together. Now there's a deck that if you look on tapped out, Bad Company. You'll either find my version or the guy I basically copied the idea off of, whose username is Dangerously Safe, apparently. Yeah, so the idea of the deck, I've added some new stuff to it. He had a more of a sort of limited feature base. But basically, the idea is, Collector Company is a card, that's fine. The limit being CMC3. So you combine it with creatures that are very, very good, because, again, when I'm very decked, I'll basically just look through Gatherer for all of the cards. So I just did Gatherer Search, anything under CMC3. I think I did like over Toughness or Power 4 or something. So you come up with some interesting cards, and unless you've seen them in Commander or whatever, it's unlikely you've come across them before. The main card that the whole deck is basically built around, and then there's some cards that are similar, but this, if you could just have like 20 copies of this, it'd be amazing. There's a card called Hunted Horror. Now, if you weren't playing in Ravnica City of Guilds, so the original Ravnica block, there was a hunted card for each colour, and effectively they were very cheap, so 5 mana or less. Very big creatures, and then when you played them, it was neat to be that the opponent got something as well. So, like for the dragon, the opponent got some knights. For the blue phantasm, they got goblins, whatever. For the Hunted Horror, when you play it, it's a 2 mana 7/7 with trample, which sounds broken. But the opponent, when it comes in, gets 2 3/3 green centaurs with protection from black. So you're paying 2 mana for a creature. Obviously, you can attack with it. They can't kill you, and that was the case with a lot of things where the hunted creatures couldn't quite kill the creature that was that you played in the first place. But of course, the opponent's only going to be taking 1 damage a turn because of the pro green, the pro black part of the centaur. Yeah. So you have cards like that, and then you have other cards like Torpor Orb, which many of you might have seen in Modern before. It's not often played as much as it used to be with like Spinster and stuff. It's a 2 mana artifact, which means that creatures no longer trigger ETB effects when they come in. Man. And then there was another card printed in, it was reprinted recently in Commander, but it was in, I believe, M15. It's a card called Hushwing Griff, which is a 3 mana 2/1 flying creature with flash, which has the same ability. So again, ETBs don't happen for creatures. So you have a deck full of creatures that are 3 CMC or less, that have very bad things when they come in for you, but then you have 8 ways in the deck to stop those from happening. Yep. So, like I said, you have 4 Collector Companies, 4 Hunted Horrors. You have some mana ramps. You have like Birds of Paradise, Sylvian Carroted, whatever. You have Torpor Orbs and Hushwing Griffs. Now, Hushwing Griffs are nice because you can actually Coco into them, and if you're not familiar with the interaction, when you Coco into something, the 2 happen at the same time. So if you get a Griff and a Hunted Horror, then the Hunted Horror thing doesn't happen because they see each other at the same time, that sort of thing. Yeah. There's some other bad creatures you can run. The other 2 that are probably worth mentioning are Treacherous Pit Dweller, which is a really random card from Original Innistrad, which is, again, a 2 mana black creature, so black. It's a 4/3. It's got Undying, so when it dies, it comes back with a 1/1 counter on it. But because it's a 2 mana 4/3, when it dies, the opponent gets it. So you get a nice cheap 4/3, but then they get a nice 5/4. But the Treacherous Pit Dweller, the wording on it is that when it comes in, it says when it enters the battlefield from a graveyard. So if you run it with Torpor Orb or the Hushwing Griff, then again, they won't get control of it. You get to keep your nice 5/4. So those are the main 2 ones. There's also a random card that I was the closest I could find to that, which is it's just a 3 mana 4/4. And when it comes in, you have to sacrifice it unless you discard a creature card. So it just means obviously you play, you don't have to discard anything. It's a nice 4/4 that doesn't die to bolt. In the deck I've got, which I don't think the original guy had, I also run like just generally nice stuff like Brimaz and Leatherback Baloth, which are all 3 mana guys with stats that don't die to bolt effectively. Yeah. But there's loads of other stuff you can run. You can run some of the other hunted cards, like the blue hunted card is a 3 mana 4/6 that's unblockable, but the opponent gets goblins. You can run a card which I really like, and I don't really watch Legacy, but there was a Legacy game I once watched, which I don't think it's got a name for it, but it's like lots of blue cheap creatures, and you just went with card advantage, and it's really cool. But this card's called Scarb Ruinator from whichever instruct block. Yeah, the 3 mana 5/6 with flying. Yeah. You can cast it from your graveyard, but if you do want to cast it, you have to exile 3 creatures from your graveyard. So obviously, if you want to put it in this deck, you either have to exile stuff that's already dead, or you have to Coco into it. But fortunately, this deck also does run Aether Vial, so you could do that as well. Nice. But the Legacy deck I saw, just to go on a tangent briefly, it had again, no one would have ever heard of this card unless they'd seen the deck or were playing in original Ravnica. There was a mechanic called Forecast, which is you could reveal it at the beginning of a turn from your hand and do something. And this card was, you pay blue and white, you tap 2 blue or white creatures and you get to draw a card. So the whole deck was just slow card advantage. You just do that every single turn. you have loads of little guys like the hawk from New Ravnica that countered when you sacrificed it, it countered the spell. You had the Master of Frost, which did the same thing. You put lots of little guys in your graveyard, and then you just cast a Scarred Ruinator and just sort of controlled the game enough to just hit them with a big flying guy.
Yeah.
It was just really, really nice. But anyway, back to the deck. Again, you have some mana guys, you have Ether Vial, and that combined with Coco means you can hit all these creatures. Hopefully, if you haven't got the Torpor Orb in play, you hit Hushwing Griff.
Yep.
You know, you can go like, oh, Hunter Torah, oh, Hushwing Griff, okay, we're fine. Or you go, hit 2 Hunter Torahs, you know, they get 4 Centaurs, they pass to exile one of yours, and you have a bad time. It's not a very good deck, like a lot of the ones I'm going to talk about in this sort of semi-series, but it looks like a lot of fun. I have got the cards to build it, and I think I will build it at some point, just because it looks quite fun. Only other things to talk about is in the sideboard you can run Phyrexian Revoker, which is Pigmead on a body basically. Yep. He's quite nice because again you can Coco into him and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, you do shut it down with Torpor Orb and Hushwing Griff. In terms of hate, can't really do very much, so I might have to look at that as a different option. But yeah, if anyone wants to look it up, if you type in Bad Company on Tapped Out, you'll either find my version or this other guy's version. And I just think it's funny because Hunted Horror is just a hilarious card to be running because people are like, what is this card? You're like, just disregard the text. It doesn't do that anymore. It's fine.
And it's all about Collected Company, isn't it? I like the idea of just casting Collected Company and just getting massive, like 5/6s and 7/7s with trample.
Yeah.
Like, that's just insane.
It's an interesting interaction I found with it as well. I don't know how often you would do it, but if you have a Hushwing Griff in hand and you've already got one in play or a Torpor Orb in play, which is quite likely to be fair, because it's got Flash, you can either just cast it to put it in whenever it's relevant. So say if you go, I don't know, Coco into Hunted Horror, in response they abrupt decay your Torpor Orb, obviously they're about to get some Centaurs, you can then flash in your Griff and it means that you're safe again. But another nice one is you can obviously Ether Vial it in as well, so you can have no mana and then go like, oh, I'll kill your Torpor Orb, you know, the thing your deck doesn't work anymore, you just go, you know, in response Vial this Griffin. So that the fact that you can instant speed, like if Torpor Orb was the only thing, or say if there was an artifact which was exactly the same, I don't think the deck would run. I think you have to have this creature that you can hit with Coco, or the creature that you can flash or Ether Vial in. So with the addition of Hushwing Griff, I think this is really, well, like an okay deck, basically. I think it's going to be a lot of fun if anyone wants to play this deck.
No, it does sound fun. So I always had a soft spot for Scarred Ruinator when it was...
I think I've got not quite a playset, but I think I've got like 2 or 3 of just people I've just grabbed off of them, like, because they're only $1. Even though they're mythics, and I've just grabbed off people just as I've been trading random stuff before. Just 'cause I'm like, I might build that deck at some point. That's quite fun.
There was that. I always try to make that work. Ludovic's test subject.
Yes, I love Ludovic's test. Actually, I can talk about a brew with him and Defenders next time. Actually, quite a nice list. Some other cards worth mentioning that are 3 mana that have drawbacks. You've got Athros, so a lot of the gods you can Coco into play. And you can adapt your mana base if you wanted to cast them. There's a card called Avatar of Discord, which is 3 hybrid black-red, which is a 5/3 flyer, and you have to discard 2 cards or it dies. But obviously that doesn't happen. I didn't like the fact that it dies to Bolt, but having said that, there seems to be very little Bolt being played in Modern at the moment, so that might actually be a straight-up replacement. There is a few creatures that cost 4 mana, which have really bad drawbacks. Like if anyone's ever heard of the card Eater of Days from Darksteel, it's a 4 mana flying trample 9/8 creature, but you skip your next 2 turns when it comes in.
Next 2?
Yes, it's a terrible card, but with Torpor Orb it's fine, but you can't Coco into it unfortunately, so I wouldn't play it. But in terms of cards with drawbacks, those are also on the maybe board if anyone wants to look at my list to get an idea, because it's a hilarious card.
God.
There's also Illusionary Angel. It's a 3 mana 4/4 flyer, but you can only cast it if you've cast another spell this turn, which normally isn't relevant because you're going to be Ether Vialing it or Cocoing into play. So that's quite nice. There's a card called Necrogen's Scudder, which is a 3 mana 3/3 flying, but when it comes in you lose 3 life, so obviously you don't lose 3 life. Oh, an interesting one you can add if you want to. Say if you weren't as reliably hitting Torpor Orb and Hushwing Griff, and indeed there's another deck built around this as well. There's a card called Sundial of the Infinite, which probably most people have heard of in some way, which is basically 1 mana tap it, you end the turn, so anything on the stack, anything that's about to happen just stops happening. So say if you were to play Hunted Horror, and then they kill your Torpor Orb and they're about to get some Centaurs, you just tap this card, end the turn, and the trigger goes away.
Okay.
So you can use this card as a third card to get rid of the bad triggers if you want. And there's some again, I'll talk about this if I talk about the deck ever. There's some interesting things you can do with this, like Geist Saint Traff with the Angel disappearing at end of turn. This can stop that from disappearing. There's some really nice little loopholes. I'll talk about that later because that's also kind of a funny. This deck is full of bad stuff, but not really kind of deck.
I like cheating angels into play or keeping them into play.
Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff you can do with that. But again, I'll talk about that for another break. But yeah, in the meantime, if people want to look up Bad Company, search it up. And yeah, I've got my list, which is a bit more colourful. And then someone else has made a little bit more streamlined one. But yeah, it's super fun.
No, that's awesome. I love it. And I think it's interesting what you're saying about the lack of bolts as well, actually. I think in modern...
It's interesting. I don't know why. Like, sure, like Burn still has them. But, you know... There's loads of Grixis decks still kicking around with Snapcaster Mage, and people still aren't running bolts, and it's just really confusing me. I don't play Control, so I don't understand the mindset of it. But apparently, yeah, just bolts aren't a good thing anymore. Like what?
I think people are basically playing Fatal Push. So like in the Snapcaster decks, they're running like Grixis, Death Shadow, for example. Yeah, Fatal Push and Terminates and a little bit of counter magic, and I think it just wants Fatal Push to kill anything even remotely aggro.
The thing is, that's really upset me now because this deck is full of 2 mana and 3 mana things. The Hunted Horror dies to Fatal Push. I'm really sad now. That wasn't a thing before. Now he's got a lot weaker in my eyes.
Yeah, yeah, that is unfortunately for as long as Death Shadow is going to be around, that might be a problem.
Oh, sad.
I do like the idea of though if you're playing this against the new Eldertron deck, they're sort of like. That's quite funny because they're playing things like Reality Smasher and Thoughtlopsy, and you're just playing like 7/7 Tramplers and saying, "Yeah, what?" That's quite an amusing idea to me.
Yeah.
One thing we forgot to talk about was what we've been playing in Magic recently, not GPT in Eastbourne. You went to as well, and
yes.
That Eldrazi Tron deck was horrible to play against. I had.
I mean, in deck Blood Moon, so it's fine.
Oh yeah. You were okay. I wasn't. I was playing Burn, and in multiple games they got Chalice out for 1 and Chalice out for 2, and I just kind of sat there thinking, well, I need to chain Rift Bolts. Yeah, that deck's pretty crazy. So, yeah, I'm still casting Lightning Bolts, so I'll probably lose to that Bad Company deck playing Burn. Like playing a 7/7 Trampler, like what the hell does Burn do against that?
3 bolts. Well, I've told you the story before, didn't I? When a friend of mine kept running the Black Devotion deck after Gary came out and was running like Phyrexian Obliterators, which I just think is an amazing card.
Oh yeah.
And the opponent was playing Bolt and triple bolted the Phyrexian Obliterator.
Oh.
Sorry, double bolted it. Yeah, to do 6 damage to get rid of it. And he thought it read. He didn't forget what the card did, obviously, but I think he thought it was whenever it's dealt damage, not that much damage.
Oh.
So he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll sacrifice 2 things." Like, no, sacrifice 6. I've got no cards left. Yeah.
GG. How did your GPT go?
I can't even remember now. It was a while ago. It was 4 rounds, wasn't it?
I had to leave after.
You did,
yeah, I had to run away. So
I went 2-2 and was just into the top 8. I mean, I didn't care because I didn't want the buys to Las Vegas, but yeah, it was enough to get some boosters, so I was happy with that.
Sweet.
It was interesting with Living End. I'm enjoying that. It's good fun. It was there wasn't too much that was like crazy that I just instantly lost to. Even the ones that were a bit unfortunate, I still got to get like a game off of them by playing Blood Moon. And we were talking last time about the fact I hadn't played Grixis Death Shadow, and I got to play that and made some mistakes against that. And I'm not going to do those again. And yeah, it's good. It was good fun.
Okay. How do you feel about that matchup? Because I'll be curious to know how good or bad that matchup is.
You have to be very careful with Living Ends because the last game I was stupid, but when I cast Living End, the opponent then responded by discarding 3 Street Wraiths.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're probably not going to do that regularly, but you can easily anticipate 1 or 2 if the opponent knows what they're facing, I think. So you have to be careful. You really need Leyline of the Voids, I think. You really need them, and I hadn't got any of them because they were doing stuff with Tasiga. They were obviously, like I said, responding with Street Race. You have to have your ley lines out for that game to even go your way at all, I believe. The game that I lost stupidly was because I played Blood Moon and locked myself out the game as well. I thought it would I was just hit more, but he hit basic before I did. It was kind of hilarious because it was like 20 turns of us just going draw pass, discard, draw pass, discard. It was funny, but yeah, I'm not going to make that mistake again. So some things to learn from.
In general, though, how did Blood Moon perform?
It was good, but I had to be careful with what lands I fetched, and I spent a lot of time looking at my land base and what fetches what and stuff, and I think I need to have another look at that, just because I do like the main deck Blood Moons, but I just need to make sure that I'm consistently hitting basic green or basic black to enable that. And there was even a situation where I drew an Urborg, which is just for the funny interaction with Street Wraith, and I was like, play Urborg. I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't work with Blood Moon because of dependencies, and it was just
Oops.
Yeah, in terms of Blood Moon, I'm not really sure if it's just almost worth running it in a deck like the other deck I'm considering at the moment was that Restore Balance list, which you can also run it main deck if it wants to, just because you just straight up win some games. Like, I don't know if I want to be that kind of player which just wins because of, certain matchups you just win because of a card. I don't know.
The way I look at Modern is that people are going to try and do degenerate things sometimes. So
sure,
I consider Blood Moon almost kind of, it's like fair game. Like, I really do. Like, I remember this one tournament a little while ago. I don't actually remember the guy's name, but he got really bitter about how things went. I was playing Blue Moon,
sure,
which, if anyone's not familiar, basically plays Blood Moon main deck, full Blood Moon, and 4 Spreading Seas. So it's not a very nice deck to play against if you get someone going turn 1, bolt whatever you play, or just keep mana up for counter spell, and then they go Spreading Seas into Blood Moon. That's quite unpleasant.
Does it swing with like Snapcaster Mage or something big?
You play when I was playing it. I had 1 copy of Goblin Dark Dwellers, 1 copy of Backer Skull, and 2 Pia and Kira Nala.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my theory was to kind of diversify threats a little bit, and I was playing Snapcaster Mages as well. So you had basically some counter magic and disruption. Anger of the Gods, 1 or 2 in the main, a couple in the side, just to kind of protect against quick starts or elves or zoo or stuff like that. Basically, just try and put enough disruption on the table so that you can win a bit of a slower game with those higher costed creatures. So that was the game plan, and I played against a Collected Company Melira combo. So
sure.
Melira stops counters being put on their creatures, and they have Kitchen Finks, which they sacrifice to a Viscera Seer to gain infinite life, or they do the same with a Murderous Redcap, which they do for infinite damage. So when those creatures die, they come back with a -1/-1 counter, but they can't have the counters put on there with Melira, so that's kind of how that works, for anyone not familiar with it. So they can sacrifice their creatures infinite amount of times and do all that stuff. And in my opinion, that's quite a broken thing to do. And if you're sitting there and you go, oh, I'm going to gain infinite life, that's quite miserable for your opponent. So, to my mind, I don't really see what the difference is between someone doing that and someone casting Blood Moon.
Yeah. You've kind of made me, after seeing the fact that I won both my matches effectively because of mostly Blood Moon, rather than Living End half the time, it's almost made me want to play, I don't know if I ever talked about it, that deck that runs Blood Moon, Doubling Season, and loads of Planeswalkers with Oath of Nissa.
Oh, right.
So basically, you run Birds of Paradise, Sylvian Caratids, and Noble Hierarchs. You ramp into Blood Moon. It's a 4-colour deck, but you don't care because you run Oath of Nissa.
Yes.
So the Oath of Nissa means that you can play all your Planeswalkers with the red mana that you don't care about.
Yep.
And then you run Doubling Season as well, so you can potentially just play Tamio, Ultimate, whatever, play Nahiri, instantly find Emrakul, or just generally just have Doubling Season and have some fun with it. And then you just win the game using either Planeswalker Ultimates or Emrakul from Nahiri.
Oh, Emrakul.
So I'm kind of tempted because I played it at GP Prague. It didn't do very well, but I think it was because I was playing against elves and some other stuff, and it didn't do very well. But I think after seeing Blood Moon, I think I might try and play that again. But the thing is, as well, in the sideboard it runs Worship, which was really fun because I think game 1 against elves, I think I lost. Then game 2, I put in Worship, and he didn't put in his Reclamation Sage, so he just couldn't get rid of it at all. And then I think game 3 he did, and then was able to record for it and get rid of it. But I was just thinking, maybe this deck's a bit too slow for Modern at the moment. But I'm thinking actually, if you've got options like Worship or whatever, and you can get them down quick enough, that might actually be good enough for against like Grixis Death Shadow, because again they can't win using just damage, or even infinite combo damage stuff won't kill you if you've got Worship, because you have the carrier tier, they just can't get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I might have another look at the deck, actually. It seems interesting.
Yeah, I think Blood Moon is good against the Death Shadow decks because they're playing all the shocks because they want to hurt themselves. So I think Blood Moon is well positioned to be quite an irritant, and even against decks like Elves, it's still quite good. And I do like Blood Moon with Simian Spirit Guide, because if you can get a turn 1 or 2 Blood Moon out against Elves, that can actually just be just as bad for them, depending on how they've got their lands. And obviously there's so many, an early Blood Moon with so many fetches, it's just disgusting. So like all of a sudden they're thinking, oh, I could fetch a basic, not anymore, because you've managed to Blood Moon before I can play my fetch land. No, I think it's good. It's making me want to actually try Blue Moon again. So I think that combination could actually be quite good, just to prey on Death Shadow, maybe. Yeah. Equally, it might just be terrible because the cards blue and red have to deal with, Death Shadow might not actually be that good.
Yeah, true.
Bolt's not that good. Roast is pretty expensive way of dealing with like a Tasiga.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's food for thought.
Yeah.
Have you been playing any Standard at all recently?
No, I've kind of had a break from Magic for this week and last week, actually. To talk entirely off topic, I've sort of been playing a bit of Warhammer recently and been focusing on painting that and stuff, actually. So haven't been that active Magic wise, but actually after this discussion, it's kind of made me want to play Modern a bit more now with some Blood Moon shenanigans. Seems quite fun, but I think it's mainly a byproduct of Standard at the moment. I just kind of got a bit bored. Like that human deck with the lifelink and stuff, it was good fun, but I still just lost to Equinox Marvel. So maybe I want to play Standard a bit more after this band settles down. But to be fair, I'll probably just wait for the new set to come out, I imagine. But I think I'll try and play some Modern in the meantime, I imagine.
You're not alone in being a little bit tired with Standard recently, so I can let you off for that. Hopefully things will be a bit shaken up now, and it will just mean there's more interesting stuff happening.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Red White Humans does quite well to begin with, just the sort of default kind of fast deck.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Similar to Mono Black Zombies, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 decks that people haven't thought about actually come up, and then people will start playing those, which will then trickle down and mean that Standard's a bit more diverse. So I'm looking forward to hopefully some new stuff appearing. That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, definitely. Right here then, Grant. Maybe we'll see Simon next week. Maybe.
Exhausted. Well, that's probably not going to be a thing now, but oh well.
No, I don't blame him. I would be probably exactly the same. It's very tiring. So he's got a lot of work. So that is all for now from us. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, give us some feedback on our Facebook page. You can search up Glimmer of Genius. Follow the group and keep up to date with whenever we are sending out podcasts. We can also be found on the MTG Cast network. That is mtgcast.com, as well as our own podcast website, which is glimmerofgenius.podbean.com. Also, if you're interested in even more Magic the Gathering content, then please check out my YouTube channel, Vincent Games, which you can find in the description below, or search up Vincent Games on YouTube. Thanks very much for listening. Stay tuned for more.
See you later.
Take care, buddy. See you later.